Hi, I'm Jeff. Today, the discussion is the AJHL. Let's jump right in. So the Alberta Junior Hockey League is part of the CJHL. Last year it had the fourth best production of any of the junior hockey leagues in both the United States and Canada. That's not uncommon for the AJHL. The AJHL has been in that position for the last few years. That ranking is the USHL, the North American Hockey League, the BCHL, and then the AJHL. Now, with that said, remember, this is not the amount of participants that are D1 commits. This is actual production. You come into the year without a D1 commit, and then you end up with a D1 commit as the year goes on. So the other thing that the league has is it's got NHL draft picks. It's not uncommon to see 1, 2, 3, 4 AJHL players drafted. They're fairly consistent on getting something on the draft board. We're not talking about BCHL numbers as far as 6, 8, 10, but we're talking about enough that make them relevant. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I love to use this map. This map helps explain a little bit of things. This is the CJHL. If you don't know what the CJHL is, it is the Canadian Junior Hockey League. It is the Junior A component of hockey in Canada. These are your leagues and where they fit as far as the provinces go. And you can see on the left, and the second from the left is the AJHL. It is in Alberta, and it's sandwiched between British Columbia and Saskatchewan. So if you look at the actual province, the province is on the southwest side, on the west border with British Columbia. It shares the Rocky Mountains. That does add tourism to the mix. Some beautiful areas, some skiing. If you're sitting in a restaurant in Alberta and you're talking to people, you will hear that the best skiing, the best views, the best mountain views, and the best tourism are all on the Alberta side of the Rocky Mountains. I'll leave that for somebody else to decide. I can tell you that it is beautiful, though. If you play in Canmore, there's a good chance you're going to see a herd of elk. If you're driving through Camrose, there's a good chance you're going to see a bunch of mule deer. If you get a chance to drive out into the foothills, let's say you're in Drayton Valley, you're Canmore or Okotoks or Calgary, and you get a chance to drive out to the foothills and get into the Rockies, you especially want to try to find the wild horses of the Rocky Mountains in the Alberta area. It is fantastic to see the horses out there in the mountains, on the mountainside, and the herds running and how they work. It's dynamic. It's fun. The other thing is this is an oil area. You're going to see a lot of oil rigs. You're going to see a lot of industry built around the oil fields. You're also going to see a lot of cowboys. Most people have heard of the Calgary Stampede, but there is a rodeo winter, summer, spring, fall. There's always a rodeo going on somewhere, either indoor or outdoor, big rodeo area. And it's got a feel for those that have been to Oklahoma. If those have been to North Texas, it's really got a feel of both Oklahoma and North Texas. As far as the way the league is broken down, this is midpoint of the 1920 season right now. There's no surprises in this league. This league is built a little more top-heavy than some. And what I mean by that, if you compare this to the BCHL or if you compare this to the North American Hockey League, you can take a last-place team in the North American Hockey League, and there's probably still going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 Division I commitments on the team. If you look at the bottom of the league right now, the Olds, the Calgarys, and the Lloydminsters, you're not going to find 2, 3, 4, 5 D1 commitments on the teams on the rosters right now. But if you go up to the Brooks, the Okotoks, the Sherwoods, the Spruce Groves, even get into the mid-range teams like Camrose, you're going to find that those rosters are very similar to a North American Hockey League roster as far as their players and where the players are going. So let's take a look at Brooks a little bit. Brooks won the whole thing last year, the Canadian Junior A championship. So Brooks had 7 Americans on the roster. 7 Americans out of a league that only had 33. So right off the bat, you can see that they value Americans on that team. A little bit of background on the Americans that were on the team last year. 1999 birth years, which had 2 years of juniors left last year. In the 1920 season, they are the senior class. There's 6 of them. There was one that was aging out, which is a 98 birth last year. All 7 players ended up having D1 college commitments. 6 of the 7 had D1. One player actually had a D3 commitment. I should mention that. I forgot about that. And 2 of those were earned during the year. So of the 7 Americans, 5 of those came into the year with D1 commitments in hand. So let's look at those 33 Americans and see where they came from and where they ended up after the year last year. So they came from the Tier 1 Elite League. That's not uncommon. Prep school is not uncommon. The National Training and Development Program, that's pretty interesting. You would not expect to see a national development player move up to the AJ, but that happened in Minnesota high school. And then other high school. Let me stop right there on the other high school. If you're a high school player and you're not playing in Minnesota high school and you're not a top player in the Minnesota high school, you're not going to backdoor into the AJHL. Those 6 players from other high schools came out of very, very good programs in Wisconsin and in the Detroit area, the Metro Detroit area. Now, with that said, Metro Detroit and Wisconsin are not known as being powerhouse high school programs. However, there are a few. These are the exceptions, and these are the kids that are coming out of some very good programs, just individual schools that are very good. And there's pockets there's pockets in Boston, there's pockets in Detroit, there's pockets in Wisconsin, and even Colorado. But that's not the norm. The norm is not coming straight out of high school and going in and playing to the AJ. The other came from their junior programs, and this is coming from mostly coming from OJHL, coming from the NOJO, the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, or coming from the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League. Those 4 players that are from other junior programs. And then there was a couple players that came from the North American Prospect League, which is the NAPHL, I believe it's called. So that's where they broke down from. Not much of a different picture than you would expect. You would always expect Tier 1 Elite to have a lot. You expect the prep programs to have a lot. Of that group of 33, 10 or a third of the group have Division I commitments during the season. So where did they go? Where did the 33 Americans that were playing in the AJHL go? Well, 4 went straight to college. They aged out. We had 2 move to the USHL. You had 7 that stayed in the AJHL. You had 8 that moved to the North American Hockey League. Now, I should tell you, that number was around 14 players that were Americans. So almost half of the group tried to move to the North American Hockey League. And of that group, I believe 4 or 5 of the players now are either in the EHL or in the NCDC. I think one went back to the CJHL in the Ontario area. Now, what's important about that is that the players that were coming off the weakest programs are the ones that did not move on through the North American Hockey League. The players from the stronger programs that were stronger participants on those teams moved on. But if you were playing for one of the weaker teams in the AJ, the bottom 1 or 2 teams in each division, those players filtered right on out of the North American Hockey League within a month of being in the league. So they didn't fare well. Once again, you have to be a quality player. Just because you're in the AJHL and you make a roster, if you're on the last place team in that league, you're probably not playing with quality players. You're probably not going to get exposed as much, and it's probably a much, much tougher jump to play in the North American Hockey League or the USHL or the BCHL. And you had 1 player that moved over to the BCHL. So you can see that the majority of the players, the 33 Americans that we're accounting for right here, a lot of players are playing at quality levels. 4 players playing D1, USHL and NAL and BCHL. Once again, over a third of the players moved into quality leagues, and 7 stayed in the league, which is not a problem. Once again, this is a league of destination. You can play all of your junior hockey here and move on and progress to the NCAA Division I ranks. So I hope this helped. A little bit of an explanation of how the AJHL operates, where they're located, a little bit about the demographics of the area, a little bit about how some things you can expect up in the league, and especially if you're an American. Not a lot of Americans take advantage of this league. If you have the opportunity to play in the AJHL as an American, it's a great experience. I hear very little about bad situations coming out of the AJHL. I know that personally I had my son played up in the AJHL and enjoyed the process and enjoyed the area, loved his billet families. Remember also, the AJHL is a tuition-free league. This is tuition-free, billet-free. You go up there, you're bringing your skates and you're bringing your jock strap, and pretty much everything else is being handed to you. Your shoulder pads too, but pretty much everything else is being handed to you. Your sticks, your tuition fees, and your billeting are all taken care of. So once again, if you like this, please hit like, subscribe to us if you're watching this on YouTube. We've got lots more content coming out. I hope this helped you understand Americans in the AJHL.